So thank you, by the way, for going through all that, because as we land the plane here and just wrap this episode up, you as an ESFP listening, why is this important to look at these subtypes? Well, we often, through our lives now, especially in the modern world, we're serially monogamous with our career choices and career path. Like what you're doing now for a career probably won't be what you're doing in like 30 years from now. Usually we flex and flow through different jobs and careers, but there's usually principles or energies at play underneath the career choices we make. So if you could identify and understand the type of ESFP you are, the flavor, you have some building blocks to say, oh, that's probably not the right career for me. Oh, that one is probably perfectly in alignment for me because I kind of know how I'm wired. I know the ways that my ESFP energy shows up to the world. So I think that's really the key, because you mentioned something, Antonia, like, for like the harmonizing, for example, like maybe they start out as a yoga teacher in their 20s as an ESFP and they're really into that. But by the time they're middle age, maybe that starts to flex and flow into more, maybe they tap more into their shaman nature. They're going just from the practice of yoga to maybe more higher principles of teaching spiritual truths through yoga as they mature through life. So as we mature and we see personal growth as a maturation process, the same energy of being the harmonizing ESFP, for example, can play both when you're starting out in your career, but throughout your entire career. So that's kind of why I think this is important to know about yourself, which one you tend to lean toward out of these 4 choices.
Yeah. And why you are the subtype you are is also influence the other direction. Like you may have started out as more of a dominant ESFP.
Yeah.
But you found yourself in corporate America and now you're more of a normalizing ESFP. Or you may have started out as a harmonizing ESFP because of training growing up, but you found yourself in a profession that allowed you to perform. And now you are really attracted to all the performance components of a creative ESFP. So these are also ways that we can almost leverage where we spend 40 hours a week
or
more, right? Focused on these things. There are also choices we're making for what kind of person we want to be or what kind of traits we show up with.
Yeah.
None of it's right or wrong. Like all of it is just an option. It's just a choice. But these careers have as much of an impact on us as we have on them.
Yeah.
And so what we have chosen, like if a person maybe is in a transition period of their life, they've been a normalizing ESFP, and maybe they realize, okay, well, I have the capacity to play this role, but really I want to do something completely different. I want to do something that's more aligned with psychology or maybe even performance.
Yeah.
And now I realize, okay, well, I'm going to have to move into a different phase of my life, let go of some of the things that I've picked up here and have some flexibility in how I'm seeing things to move into this other career choice that's calling me, but is going to ask different things from my personality type. And so it just gives a little bit more awareness around how some of these dynamics work. And again, none of it's right or wrong. It's all just choices that we're making. And if you're at a transition time period, ask yourself, okay, which one of these things is calling to me more? And what do I need to do in order to move into that style of my type? Because as far as I'm concerned, we're not stuck in our subtype. When we talked to Dario on that episode, I think we actually talked about how it is desirable to be able to move in and out of these flavors. In fact, he was reluctant to call them subtypes initially because that sounds too concrete and binding.
That's who you are.
Right, exactly. And when it comes to your type preferences, that's something that appears to be pre-wired. It appears to be something that is not really, like we don't really change our type. But our subtype is more of a flavoring of our type. And it is absolutely something that we can, move through these different phases of our life. And wouldn't it be awesome to be able to show up as the flavor that's necessary for the context, as opposed to being stuck? So that's a piece of it as well. There's a benefit to being able to be flexible within all of this.
Yeah, you could almost look, the metaphor I like to think in terms of is, you could almost look as your personality type, ESFP, as the written musical notes of a song. And these 4 subtypes are 4 different performances of that song, 4 different expressions of that song. So a lot of people say, does my personality type change over time? No. But your expression of your personality type does change over time. As you mature, as you are socialized or conditioned in the career choice you make, that flavoring can alter.
Yep.
I think that's important to understand.
Yep, absolutely.